The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Watch live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 0808 17 17 700. Talking Scottish football first.
Tense, nervous, headache. Well, you possibly have a vested interest in the Scottish Premiership title race, which couldn't be much tighter. And a new exciting instalment about to unfold tonight, and that is at Pittodrie, Aberdeen against Celtic. It's Rob MacLean here in for Paul. We've got Mark Guidi and Andy Walker in the studio as well. And I'm just wondering, Andy, is there any room for a Celtic slip-up? Can they still be in serious contention if they don't get all 3 points tonight in the North East?
I think it would be really difficult, Rob, but I do think that every team, and I'm including Motherwell in this, so I think the top four will all drop points between now and the end of the season. But if Celtic lose tonight, I don't think they could afford to drop any more. They would have to go the rest of the season undefeated. But when I look at just the tension, the anxiety around every single fixture for Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Motherwell, you'll see drop points, I think, for sure. But I think after the second half performance at the weekend, Celtic will probably make a couple of changes. Hatatei and Tunetke will probably play from the start, and I saw Motherwell a few weeks ago at Fir Park. I saw Aberdeen a few weeks ago at Fir Park against Motherwell, and they just didn't look like a good side. Celtic big favourites tonight, but every game now is tricky.
Aberdeen, Mark, have won one league game of their last 12. I mean, it's serious relegation form, that. I mean, they are down with Livingston at the moment over that period in terms of points picked up.
Yeah, they've been really poor. Aberdeen, Rob, very, very disappointing. When you consider the budget that they have, the size of the football club, the history, the fact that they won the Scottish Cup in May, but they've just not kicked on. And in fact, probably when you look at it, the Scottish Cup covered up for a really poor second half of the season under Jimmy Tillane, and they've just not kicked on at all. And they just seem a wee bit confused about where they want to go and who they want to take them there. Dave Cormack's come out and has been keeping the Aberdeen fans up to date in terms of a permanent managerial appointment, but it just seems to be disarray. And I think the most damning thing for me about Aberdeen, Rob, I think if you're any team in the top flight just now, if you were asked to pick one team that you want to play to pretty much guarantee you 3 points, I think you would take Aberdeen. Even ahead of Livingston at the bottom, Kilmarnock second bottom, I think right now Aberdeen are the easiest team and the most likeliest team to get 3 points from.
And the confusion, Andy, at Aberdeen at the moment, not just on the pitch, and you kind of feel for Peter leaving away in terms of what he's been left, what he's been handed with for the rest of the season. And of course tonight we'll have the spectacle of Sandro Schwarz sitting in the director's box, the former Mainz, Hertha Berlin, Dynamo Moscow, New York Red Bulls coach, who we're told is a candidate for the vacant manager's position. Now, of course, there's Eric Horneland, who's already been set up almost as the number one choice, but presumably, from what we've heard, can't take it till the summer, can't take it till the end of the season. So here comes another candidate tonight, sitting in the box. So what happens if he doesn't get the job? What does that say to us? Does it say he didn't fancy it?
It's not a good look. A club like Aberdeen should be able to go out, identify their manager, go and get him, and the sheer size of the club, the expectation. And I know they've not been at their best over the last number of years, but they do want to build on their Scottish Cup success. I spoke to Peter Leaven a few weeks ago at that Motherwell game, and when we were chatting after the game, I was saying, this is not good for the players. Players in the dressing room they want a leader, they want a manager. They want to know who's in charge. And it's been dragging on for so long. I'm sure every one of them has Googled Eric Horneland. And they'll now be Googling this guy, seeing what he... everything is confusion. To be fair to the club, I think they have invested a fair bit of money in their squad, but that's not to say that they've spent wisely. It's
quantity but not quality.
Yeah, I think it's always a bad look when you've got a big city club like Aberdeen really struggling in the bottom six, and it's they're pretty much guaranteed to be in the bottom six. And with the form that they're in, they must be glad that Kilmarnock are losing games. Livingston, I think, have already gone. But as you mentioned earlier, their last number of games, they're relegation form.
Yeah. So, Mark, in this so unpredictable of football seasons, maybe there is something that is predictable, and that is that Celtic will win tonight. They have to win tonight, and surely they will win against an Aberdeen side who've got so many doubts around them.
Yeah, well, like I said, if you had to pick a fixture that you want, I think Aberdeen is the one. I think Celtic will win tonight. I'm not sure it'll be comfortable, but I think Celtic will get the 3 points. If Celtic don't win tonight, I make Hearts clear favourites at the moment. If Celtic drop any points tonight, I would make Hearts overwhelming favourites. Other scenario, if Celtic do win tonight, for me that kind of knocks Rangers out of the race for being champions, because I don't think Hearts and Celtic would drop enough points to let Rangers in. And also I can't see Rangers winning, and they've got 9 games to go. I can't see Rangers winning every game that they have to get to 84 points. So right now, 82 could win you the title, 83. But no, for Celtic, they need to just go and win tonight, Rob, and get that psychological advantage as well of going above Rangers in the table, starting to hunt down Hearts, and also put them in good spirits for going to Ibrox on Sunday in Scottish Cup duty.
Good to have you with us, and feel free to join the football conversation as you normally do. 0808 17 17 700, listening to us, watching us as well on YouTube. And this is Martin O'Neill on that question that we've been debating about room for error. How much room is there for Celtic to make another mistake?
Yeah, that's the message. But the players know that themselves. You know, we've left ourselves in this position through one thing or another, and we've got to try and see it through. This is, I think, this total focus is on the game.
Does it feel, Andy, like a tightrope that Celtic are on and liable to fall off?
Yeah, I think what Celtic have got is they've got a winning mentality, they've got winning experience, they've got a lot of players in that squad that have been over the course before. Absolutely, they've got a few new ones, and they've, like most clubs, they've been hit hard with injuries. Carter Vickers, Jota's been out for a long time. They've missed Alistair Johnson. Engel's been injured recently, hasn't been available. But Celtic know how to get the job done. I mean, I thought they were going to lose heavily when I was looking at the game at half-time at Ibrox last Sunday. I thought they were going to lose this one heavily, but you see what happens. A player like Hatatei, who you would not expect to come on and play like that, but he's got that ability. And he was at his best at the weekend to get Celtic back into the game. And although it was at the third attempt, he handled the pressure of the penalty.
Did Martin O'Neill pick the wrong team?
Yeah, probably. Because when you look at it at the start, it didn't work. I mean, it happens all the time. But I think the important thing is you make changes. And he didn't wait about. Made a couple of changes, and it came good. So I think it'll be interesting to see, as it always is, interesting to see the starting 11 tonight, the team selection. And despite Aberdeen being the team that everyone would want to face at the moment, I just think at this stage of the season, every game is tricky, and you have to be so wary of any opposition.
Yeah, when games are leading towards a title, it adds another layer of pressure, doesn't it? This is Martin O'Neill talking about the Hatatei question.
Well, Rio has to get the best out of himself, you know. That's the most important thing. If you had been asking that question to any of my managers about me as a player, they would have stared right through you and said it's up to him as the player. This is it. Rio's been a really fine footballer here, and it's been a tough old season for him. It's been a tough old season for the football club. So if he could maintain that form, and then he can be an asset to us. In terms of encouragement here, which is something that we can give him, absolutely, yeah, he gets all the encouragement in the world. There
would have to be a doubt mark about Rio Hatatei maintaining his form the sort of form he showed second half at Ibrox based on what we've seen this season, because he has not been the player he was in the past.
Yeah, he's been very inconsistent as of a number. I think it's symptomatic of the Celtic team, Rob, far too often this season. I mean, you look at it, they've lost 7 games out of 28. Between Rangers and Hearts, they've played each of them 3 times. That's a total of 6 games in the league. 18 points up for grabs. They've only taken 3 points. They've dropped 15 points against Rangers and Hearts with 3 draws. No managed to beat any of them this season in the league. So Hatatei's one that gets highlighted because he is such a top player. But there's been a number of players that haven't been great. And what they do have in their favour is that they've got a captain in Callum McGregor that you can hang your hat on. They don't have a number 9 that they can hang their hat on. Probably the best number 9 at the club is Iheanacho, who attendance record is poor. They don't have their best centre half available. He's been missing most of the season, and they've had a number 1 goalkeeper who's been costing them goals left, right, and centre. So there's been a number of issues with the Celtic team. That's your point about did Martin O'Neill pick the wrong team. I'm not so sure if he did pick the wrong team. Under the circumstances, he might have picked the right team, but the players didn't perform. It's not like he left anybody out the starting 11 that's been absolutely sensational.
No.
But what he did do, he didn't hang about any of the guys that weren't on it, and he took them off. I thought getting Taneki on the left hand side and putting Maeda in the middle really get Celtic up the pitch. You know, really got Taneki got in the front foot and kind of brought Celtic to life as well, as did Hatatei. But I think regardless of the starting 11 that he goes for tonight, Celtic really should have enough to go and win the game at Pittodrie.
Is Sini Salo the goalkeeper for the rest of the season, Andy?
Wouldn't be surprised. He would certainly be my choice. I think he's got the ability. He looks strong, looks confident. And I think when you compare him to Kasper Schmeichel over the last number of weeks, whether he was ill at the weekend or not, he's let in goals that you would expect him to save. His kicking has been poor. His distribution has been poor. He's drawn attention to himself with too many mistakes. I wouldn't be surprised if Sinisalo comes in now, and that could be one of the big decisions that turns the title Celtic's way.
Are you taking the illness thing with a pinch of salt then, or do you think he's just been taken out of the firing line for his own good at the moment?
You take it. You take every manager at his word. If he's unwell, if he's not up to, if he's feeling poorly, then you look at who's playing. And I think on such a big occasion, I thought Sinisalo looked strong and confident, and even Dane Murray, who made a terrible mistake for the second goal. You see players like that. I'd like to see him getting a bit more game time, just because of the lack of options elsewhere. And I thought his play after such a terrible mistake, I thought he'd come onto a game and look strong, and I think he's got something to offer.
I mean, it feels a bit strange to say that was his only mistake in the game, because it was massive, it was a high profile,
Sure.
It led to a goal.
Yeah.
But I was actually watching him in that game thinking that's maybe the best I've seen Dane Murray play.
Yeah, and I think he has got something to offer. I think he's strong in the air. He does need to tidy up his, I remember him playing at Tynecastle, and he made too many mistakes in the one game. And of course he was taken out of the team. And because of circumstances, Trusty's suspension, he was back into the side, made a horrible mistake, but he didn't continue to make mistakes. I thought he recovered well. I think there is a player in there, but as we've spoken about so often, Rob, it's so difficult for younger guys. And when I say younger guys, what is he, 22?
He's 22. That was the point I was going to make. He's actually not a young guy anymore.
Well, I'm talking about any young guy trying to get a game for Celtic on a regular basis. It's so tough. The easy thing to do at a club like Celtic is go out and buy a ready-made replacement, or just a name, or someone who is value for money. This guy's come through the ranks, and you'd like to see him get a bit more game time, because I look at him and I think he's got something to offer.
He's got the tools, Mark, hasn't he? I mean, he's a big, tall, strong, athletic guy. Yeah. But at age 22, you're really wanting him to be making an impact now. When I think of a young player at Celtic, I think of Colby Donovan at 19.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough for central defenders. They tend not to mature to 26, 27, 28. But you want to get as many first team games under your belt. Like Dane Murray would be looking at Stephen Welsh leaving and going on loan a couple of times over to Belgium and now doing really, really well at Motherwell, and part of a defence that's only conceded 18 goals out of 28 league games, which is remarkable. But I think Dane Murray tonight, if he plays well again tonight, I think he keeps the jersey, because Austin Trusty's available on Sunday because it's a Scottish Cup tie. But if they perform well enough tonight, then I think Martin O'Neill would go with the same central defensive partnership. So at the moment, young Dane Murray is in the driving seat, and it's up to him to keep a hold of the jersey.
It's also better balance, isn't it, Andy, to have a right sider and a left sider, because that has looked distinctly uncomfortable this season, hasn't it, with Trusty and Scales?
Yeah, I mean, I look at other clubs. They have two right-footed players. When you have two left-footed players, it seems to be all out of sync. I think it's the way you play and the lack of mistakes that are highlighted, not drawing attention to yourself with daft mistakes. I think that's the key when you're playing in a central defensive role, and especially now because mistakes are so costly. They're costing points, they're costing games, and I just thought there's a guy, and I keep calling him a young guy, but because he's been there for a number of years, but there's a guy who I think could play at a really good level. If he's given more game time at Celtic, he could be a regular at Celtic. He needs the opportunity. Under
other circumstances, Mark, we might have been using Sunday and a Scottish Cup Old Firm quarter-final as a factor in this game at Pittodrie tonight, as maybe a reason attention might head in that direction, and also a reason that might affect the team selection. But because of Celtic's perilous position and the fact they can't afford to be spilling any points, it's fairly straightforward, isn't it, that it will be the strongest team available tonight to try to win this game, and then Sunday takes care of itself. Would that be right?
Aye, I mean, I think if you take, well, I would imagine if you to say to Martin O'Neill and any of the Celtic players, even the Celtic supporters, would you take a win tonight or would you take a win on Sunday? I think you take the win tonight, because the league's what it's all about. Of course you want to win on Sunday, you want to stay in the competition and try and do a league and cup double, but tonight's a priority, Rob, and the beauty for Celtic, if they can win tonight, they now just go to one game a week, same as everybody else, so they've had a kind of bit of clogged up fix because of they've stayed in Europe, so that's a bonus if they can win tonight. I think, Rob, Sunday's massively important. Of course, it's a Scottish Cup tie against your biggest rivals, I get all that. But for me, the next two games for Celtic, if Celtic win tonight and they beat Motherwell in the league a week on Saturday, which, by the way, as we all know, is not a gimme, I think if Celtic win those next two games, regardless of what Hearts do, I would have Celtic for favourites for the title. I think Celtic take 6 out of 6. For me, puts them into to go and hunt down. I think they would hunt Hearts down.
We're talking football till 7, and so are you on 0808 17 17 700.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
It's Rob MacLean tonight with Mark Guidi and Andy Walker. And, well, it doesn't, we don't have to go too far to search for talking points tonight, because 8 o'clock at Pittodrie, Aberdeen against Celtic. Aberdeen in that no man's land region of the Premiership at the moment. Dundee United and maybe Dundee as well qualify in that category. Elsewhere, it's either scrapping to get away from the bottom, and it may be too late on that score for Livingston. It looks like it. Kilmarnock and St Mirren both in big danger of ending up in the relegation playoffs. And it's fun and games at the top. And I suppose, Andy, it depends whether you go for a 3-horse race or a 4-horse race. And the way Motherwell are going at the moment, they seem to be elbowing themselves into contention to get involved as well.
Yeah, if you talk about drop points, then Motherwell are a team that can't afford to drop any if they are going to overtake Celtic, Rangers and Hearts. They will certainly have a big say, because I do think they're capable of beating 1, 2, even 3 of those teams in the games that they've got between now and the end of the season. They will obviously play them all post-split. And where will Motherwell be then? I mean, I think their ambition will still be to finish, as high as they can, try and even split whoever finishes second and third, try and get involved in that. But I spoke to Carl Robinson last night. He's a manager at Salford, and he was talking about Elliot Watt and the influence that he has. He knows him well, of course, and just so pleased that he's playing in a team that are competing at such a high level. Really pleased for him.
Has he developed then in the eyes of Carl Robinson? Has Elliot Watt moved on from what he remembers of him as a player?
Yeah, and I think that can happen sometimes. It's just a new environment. He wasn't getting a game. I mean, the game I saw last night where Salford were playing it, very physical, very direct football, the complete opposite of what Motherwell are playing. Motherwell can play short passing football. They're also capable of occasionally going direct, and they've got pace in the team. Mazwanise, I mean, that game at Aberdeen that you were at, against Aberdeen at Fir Park, you'll remember that time he picked it up on the halfway line, and within 3 or 4 seconds he was in the Aberdeen penalty area having a shot at goal. His pace is frightening. His goal scoring is good. He can handle the pressure of a penalty. I mean, it looks as though he's going to finish the season as the league's top scorer.
21 Motherwell goals.
Very, very impressive.
Plus one for Zimbabwe as well. Is there going to be a serious raid on Fir Park in the summer, Mark, for some of the players we're talking about? Elliot Watt, Tawanda Maswanise, Eli Just looks a really good player as well.
Yeah, I think you start with the manager. There will be interest in the manager. I'd be very surprised, with the greatest respect to Motherwell, I'd be very surprised if he's there next season. And that don't mean necessarily he's going to end up at Celtic. I think he's certainly a name. Well, I know he's a name under consideration for Celtic, should they decide if Mark O'Neill doesn't want to stay on. But I think he'll have a number of options to look at. His agent is certainly getting busy, and rightly so. He's got a really, really good client on his hands. And yes, you mentioned the players, Rob, the sort of 5 boys middle to front. So Fadinger and Watt, I'm told by other people in the game that watch all sorts of different top flight games, are the best partnership in Scottish football in terms of midfield. If you can get Maswanise, his goals speak for themselves. You've got Saeed, who's definitely got admirers. You've got Just, as you mentioned, who's got admirers. So there's 5 players for your midfield and your forward line. We've not mentioned any defenders, and yet they've only conceded 18 goals, and the goalkeeper as well. So yeah, I've said the problem before. If Motherwell want to, Motherwell could cash in a number of those guys and get anything towards 15 million quid if they want to. And I don't know, they might have a nice price tag in the manager as well. If that's the case, if he's to be bought out of his contract. So you don't want to lose your best players, but if you are going to lose them, then Motherwell will get top dollar for these guys, because scouts, and you'll know the scouts are flocking to Fir Park every week.
For football lovers like us, it would be a lovely thought, wouldn't it, that he would stay firstly, which is hugely unlikely, and that he would keep that squad together, and what they might go on to achieve next season. But it's not happening, Andy, is it?
I don't think so. It's a bit of fantasy, and if you're a Motherwell fan, of course you think wherever you finish, I think they could finish second or third, but let's say they finish fourth. You've got European football to look forward to. Could that manager stay and take on the challenge of European football? When I was speaking to the Motherwell fans at that Aberdeen game, that's what they were saying. I think you'll stay, you'll want the challenge of taking this squad, and maybe with a few additions in the summer, taking them into Europe. The reality is, if Celtic come calling seriously, then I think you go. And the other reality for any of the players, if some of the big clubs come in, whether it's up here in Scotland or down south, and you're double, tripling, maybe even quadrupling your money, you're going to go every time. Watching
Paul McGinn has been really enjoyable this season. I'm sure at the end of games, he just takes off his jersey, puts it back on the hanger, and it won't need washed because he hasn't broken sweat. He is cruising, isn't he?
He's been great. He really has. And, the reason I think he's making it look easy is because of the effort and the organisation of the guys in front of him, that they get good protection. But I think Paul's always been part of his game, but he does read the game very, very well. He's one of those guys that that'll read it. He'll anticipate things. He's got that experience now of hundreds and hundreds of games. He's a captain. You know, he revels in the responsibility of leading that team. He sets an example every day in training and sets an example on the park. But again, Rob, honestly, for Motherwell to only have conceded 18 goals, the best defensive record in the league by quite a distance, and one of the best, if not the best, in Europe, considering I think at the start of the season, a lot of Motherwell fans, with a couple on here, Hugh, and a couple of guys are like, yeah, we like what we see with Jens Askew, but it might be a bit harem scarum. It's going to be one of those, oh my God, you know, nail-biting moments, taking risks at the back, goalkeeper playing 40 yards for goal, etc., etc. But it's worked really, really well. I mean, it really is incredible, the defensive unit that Motherwell have become.
Has Stephen Welsh got more time, Andy, on his Celtic contract come the summer?
Well, I'm not sure, but if you're Stephen Welsh, you want to play. I think he's developed his game. He's not only is he playing every week, but he's playing under a manager who clearly works really hard on the defensive side of things. They're not a team that win 5-4, 4-2. I mean, Motherwell, I tend to put them down as winning 2-0. It seems to be their favourite scoreline. They don't give much away. And I think if you're there, I mean, you're talking about Paul McGinn. I thought he was the outstanding player in that game against Aberdeen. I've seen Motherwell on the telly, but really enjoyable to see them in the flesh against Aberdeen. And I thought Paul McGinn was the outstanding player on the park. And the thing you notice is even when the opposition, whoever it is, are putting them under pressure, there's a composure about the guy in possession where he's able to play a short pass because one of his teammates will make an angle. He can play a short pass or he can go long, and I'm not talking about hoofing it up the park. It's a long pass, and I see that in Paul McGinn. I see it in Stephen O'Donnell, and whatever they're doing at training, there's a new way for Motherwell to play, and it's really good to watch.
I think as well, sorry, on that, I think out the four, and I genuinely believe Motherwell are contenders. I really do. I think Motherwell could win the league, but I think out the four of them, the way you're talking there, Andy, I think they're going out feeling no pressure. They looks the most relaxed team out the four, probably the most relaxed team in the league, the way they go about their business. And they seem to they know how to win games, they know how to defend. You look at Hearts, Rangers and Celtic, and credit to them, they're all above them. But you feel as if there's real pressure on the shoulders of each player and each of the three managers above them. But with Motherwell, totally different scenario, and that's working to their advantage.
Yeah, I mean, they're very much in the groove, aren't they? That was their 21st clean sheet at the weekend against Dundee United. So when they score not just 2 goals, but even 1 goal, you think, well, that's probably that now.
Look at their goal difference. It's plus 29. I mean, I've never known a Motherwell team to have that type of goal difference. And going back to when I played for Motherwell, we stayed in the league, but we were a relegation team. We were around the bottom 4 or 5 clubs, and every point was a prisoner. Motherwell have got serious ambition this season, and it would be the greatest story of all if Motherwell were to win this title. I think their turnover is around 6 million, and you look at Celtic, whose turnover is maybe 126 million. I mean, it beggars belief that Motherwell could seriously go on and win this title against the type of clubs like Celtic, Rangers, even Hearts, that outspend them to an astonishing degree.
Could Paul McGinn be in the Scotland squad for the World Cup, or is that a crazy suggestion?
No. I think he could be in it. Rob, there's 2 or 3 places up for grabs. And the thing about Paul, he can play central defence. He can go to right back. You know, for example, if there's an issue over like Aaron Hickey, who I think would be first choice right back, but again, his attendance record, you just kind of wonder. And Paul McGinn's pretty much played every game. Again, he's a captain, so you're bringing another captain's mentality into your squad. You might potentially be bringing a title-winning captain into your squad. His brother's obviously part of it as well. He can help look after John. So, no, and he's been there before.
Yep.
He's been in the squads before. He would not let you down. So, no, I think there's a chance. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I definitely think there's a chance Paul McGinn could be part of the squad.
You look at some of the players that Stevie Clarke has brought in recent years: Andy Considine, Declan Gallagher, Ryan Porteous, who's now playing with LA. So he's got every chance if he continues this level of form, and let's hope he stays injury free.
Andy Walker, Mark Guidi. Let's talk to Ross. 0808 17 700. Ross, a Celtic fan. How are you?
Hi guys, hope you're well. All good?
Yeah.
Hi, Ross.
Hi, Ross.
Good, thanks. What are you thinking about tonight, Ross? Is it a foregone conclusion at Pittodrie?
No, I'm looking forward to it, Rob, but I think it'll be one of these tight games tonight where I think Celtic really need to come out the blocks, to be honest. I don't think we could allow the same situation what happened on Sunday where we go 2 goals behind before we start playing. So I think tonight Aberdeen have obviously got something to play for as well. They're getting dragged into that relegation battle, so I think for Aberdeen they'll be looking to win the game. And I think from Celtic's point of view, I'm a bit surprised that Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain didn't last longer than what he did on Sunday, and I think Martin O'Neill's got a decision tonight. Does he stick or twist? Does he make changes, or does he maybe go with the same starting 11 from the weekend? So I think it's massive for Celtic to win tonight, and I think anything but 3 points, then it will probably dampen us in terms of winning the league.
Would you be looking for Hatatei and Tunekti at least to be in the starting lineup based on how Celtic finished that game?
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, I would possibly start Hatatei. I know this might be controversial, but I'd probably maybe look at dropping Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain to the bench and having Negrin in there along Hatatei. And I think I would also start Tunekti as well. But I think for me, the big boy up front, is it
Chivanchara? Yeah.
I think he's got to start tonight.
Big time.
I would have Dyson on one side. I'd possibly just replace Tunekti with Yang and have Dyson on one side with Tunekti on the other, and the big man up front.
Is that a big call, Andy, tonight on Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain?
I think team selection is always a big call, and you asked me earlier about the team selection. It didn't work at the weekend, but so many people would have chosen the same team. But when it doesn't work, it's fine. You need to change it, and you need to look at your bench and even the other subs who come on. Look at James Forrest. Look at the quality of his cross in the short time that he was on. It gets a penalty. And I think when you look at Oxlade-Chamberlain, he's made a contribution with that goal in the last kick of the ball against Livingston a number of weeks ago. But Scottish football's tough. It's hard. It's 100 miles an hour.
But you're thinking big game, big player, aren't you, for the Old Firm day?
When's the last time he played? So I'm not surprised that he looked as though the game just went past them. Will he play tonight? I think when you take in the week overall, and Mark might have mentioned it earlier, tonight's the biggest game. No one will be rested for tonight in preparation for a Scottish Cup quarter-final, albeit against Rangers at Ibrox. You need to get 3 points tonight. That's the biggest. I wouldn't be surprised if Oxlade-Chamberlain is not in the starting 11. I think you need to find room for Hatatei. You've got to have Negrin in there. His goals tell you that.
Yeah.
And Callum McGregor is your leader. So I don't think he will play tonight.
Ross, do you think there's no room for slip-ups at all now? Were Celtic to draw tonight, for instance, if that happened, would that be the end of the title charge as far as you're concerned?
I don't know about the end, Rob, but I think it definitely won't help. But for me, if you're wanting to be serious challengers to Hearts, then you can't avoid going up to Aberdeen and dropping points and still getting away with it. So for me, if Celtic really want to make a statement to Rangers and Hearts and Motherwell in that case as well, getting up to Aberdeen tonight, getting the 3 points is basically closing the gap down to 5 points with Hearts, making a wee bit of a gap between ourselves and Motherwell to 5 points, I believe. So essentially, you can't just keep dropping points and getting away with it, because eventually the games are going to run out, and then for me, you're then having to rely on other teams to do you a favour in terms of getting points on the board and picking up other points elsewhere. So for me, if Celtic don't win tonight, then I seriously think that, I hate to say it, but I just don't see how Celtic can go in and win the league if we drop points tonight. I don't see where the other points are coming from, because Hearts don't look as if they're going to drop anything. Hearts look as if they're just going to keep grinding at results every week.
Yeah, and from Celtic's point of view, it was 2 points gone at Ibrox and 3 at home to Hibs as well.
Yeah. So essentially, sorry, on you go, guys. Sorry.
No, Ross, on you go. Finish off.
I was going to say, so for me, you're just spot on there, Rob. I think we dropped points at Hibs, points at the weekend, and then if we don't get all 3 tonight, then that's where you need to seriously question this team's mentality. Because for me, Sunday we done well to get a point in the game, but again, that's another 2 points drop. So yeah, it needs to be 3 points tonight in order to maintain our chances of winning the league. Anything below 3 points, then it seriously puts it into doubt.
I think this will be the most interesting year for the post-split fixtures. You look at any individual team and you think they could win them all, or they could get very few points. Everyone in that top 6 is capable of beating the other, and it's been proven all season. Hearts, I think, they've shown it. They can beat Celtic and Rangers. They've had great games against Motherwell. They can beat Hibs. But
And there's a reason they're top of the league as well.
And there's a reason they're top of the league. But you look at Celtic are capable of winning games. That short burst where they know if they win all 5 games, they get the title. If that was on. Rangers at their best. I mean, you saw them for 45 minutes against Celtic, maybe for 90 minutes against Hearts, where they won 4-2, and Chermiti was in that tremendous goal-scoring form. If he can find that form against other clubs rather than just the big ones, then Rangers might be onto something there. And who would write off Motherwell against anyone post-split if they're chasing a really big prize?
We were talking earlier, Ross, about Dane Murray and his performance at Ibrox. There was a high-profile mistake, of course, but a lot of what he did was pretty impressive to us. Was that the same through your eyes?
Yeah, so again, I know he's had question marks before, Dane Murray, and I just think the occasion gets to you, and Andy will know himself. Like these occasions they're frantic in terms of the first 5-10 minutes you're under the cosh, and for me, I think possibly game time maybe got to Dane Murray. I thought he generally looked all right last Thursday night when he played away at Stuttgart, and I thought he'd done well. And I was one of the Celtic fans. I did want Dane Murray to start on Sunday. But listen, it's one of the things where, did Dane Murray cost us the game? No, he didn't. Celtic cost us the game. We didn't play well enough in the first half, and we got exactly what we deserved. And for me, I think we should possibly have been 3 or 4 down at half time. But I don't blame Dane Murray for the fact that we dropped 2 points. I blame us as a collective, as a team. We just didn't play well enough in the first half, and we done well to get the point. But for me, I don't think it should be labelled at Dane Murray.
Looking further ahead, is it Celtic's league? Ross, do you feel confident that they can get there? They've got the experience of doing it time and time again.
I don't, to be honest, no. I don't. I think previous years, you've seen Celtic teams that have burst into life at this time of the season, and then we've went on big runs and we've beat teams comfortably, and you went to Celtic Park and it's really, really tight and it's really difficult games, but we've managed to get through it. And now I just think they're getting to a stage, just what Andy says, anybody can beat anybody now. But the way Celtic have been this season, they're up and down every single game. You go from game to game wondering, are we going to win this game, or are we just? But for me, if I'm being honest with myself right now, I think we'll be lucky to finish second. I think it's a fight between Rangers and Celtic for second, and I don't see Hearts moving. I think it will be Hearts' league.
Scoreline tonight, Ross?
I think it'll be a tight 2-1. I think Aberdeen will take the lead, and I think Celtic will come through it and win 2-1. But I don't see it being a free scoring 2-3-4. I don't see that. I think it'll be tight.
Thanks for joining us on the show. Good to hear from you.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Ross.
The Go Radio Football Football Show with Burger King.
For your delectation and delight, Andy Walker and Mark Guidi on the show tonight. We're talking football till 7 o'clock. Rob MacLean in for Paul Cooney tonight. Your calls on 0808 17 17 700, and much of our attention, of course, is on that big game at Pittodrie tonight. Aberdeen against Celtic. And I suppose when you think about it, there's huge question marks. We spoke about the Aberdeen managerial situation, which has dragged on horribly. But Celtic are in I guess, a state of confusion as well as to who will be in charge in the summer, and when will that person have an input to summer signings.
Oh, it's a hell of a turnaround this summer for whoever's in charge at Celtic. But right now, I think everyone's focus in the dressing room will be on a manager that they know and that they trust. And, the appointment of Wilfred Nancy was baffling. It clearly didn't work. The only credit is that Celtic made a change as quickly as they possibly could. But so many points were dropped in that time, and Martin O'Neill has got everyone believing that this the season might come good in terms of another title, but they're chasing their tail. Hearts are in pole position.
I take your point that it's all about the here and now, and there's a title race, and Celtic can still extend this incredible run of title wins, but the forward planning part of the operation has to be kicking in as well, in terms of getting those transfers lined up and making amends for lots of mistakes made in previous transfer windows.
Well, in an ideal scenario, Rob, that would be right, but it's not the case at the moment. It is about the here and now, and it's about Celtic trying to get through the next 10 league games and the Scottish Cup, and then see where they stand. But there's not been proper forward planning for over a year or so now, and it's certainly not going to start now. You look at Celtic, the evidence of Celtic, how they operate in the last 2 or 3 transfer windows, they're all over the place. So of course there's improvements to be made. There might well be a new manager, or it might be Martin O'Neill. Could be a new director of football, or it could be Sean Maloney becomes director of football if Martin O'Neill goes as manager. But none of that, absolutely none of that, is on the radar at the moment as a football club. It's just about everybody trying to be together, starting tonight at Aberdeen and doing what they can do to go and win a league. Martin O'Neill, never mind looking at targets, or Sean Maloney looking at targets. They need to try and get the best of what they've got inside the building just now. Who's coming or going in May or June or July is of absolutely no significance to Celtic right now. When they become champions or they lose the title, then they can start forward planning, but not at the moment.
The normal course of events. I was at Motherwell, and I knew I was going to Celtic around this time, around the March. Someone at the club had been in touch with my old man, and would he come at the end of the season? I would be amazed if Celtic haven't spoken to 1, 2, 3 prospective managers. Is he interested? What's the clause? What's the contract like? How much do we need to pay? You've got to have someone in place. I totally accept Mark's point that Celtic as a club their leadership has been, there's been no leadership.
Rudderless?
Well, let's just go with rudderless. But it's such an important decision. You cannot wait until the last kick of the ball and then think, right, who are we having as a manager, director of football? Surely, to goodness, those conversations are taking place. And I get it. I don't know with whom. I don't know who kickstarts it. I don't know who leads it. But that should be happening at a club who only a year ago were doing really well in the Champions League. And now they've been kicked out of the Europa League, not having qualified for the Champions League. It is, when you think of that and that alone, it's demoralising when you think of what a Celtic supporter was going through at this stage last season. Champions League football. Harry Kane is talking about, how lucky his team were to knock Celtic out. And the fall from that has been astonishing.
When you think about the last transfer window, Chavanchara, he's got 1 goal so far against Falkirk, I think it is. Not starting, didn't start the Old Firm game. Adamu hooked at half-time. I'm trying to remember the Joel Mavuka made his debut. He was hooked at half-time. We haven't seen him since. I mean, there have been so many disappointing transfer windows for Celtic, but this latest one, where you're talking about players that can make a difference and get you over the finishing line potentially for the title, that looks as if it's going to be forgettable as well, doesn't it?
You heard that chat that Martin O'Neill had where he had been offered players and he didn't want them.
Mm.
And you're at a stage now, well, you were at a stage in January where you wanted starting 11 ready players. And it looks as though they've got players in who are not going to play. So it would be astonishing if Martin O'Neill was able to hold this together. And you heard it earlier from Ross, the caller who was a Celtic fan. He doesn't fancy them. No wonder. You look at the team and there's no big names that you can hang your hat on. Absolutely, he'll do the job for us when the going gets tough.
So you would worry about Celtic's ability to win this title, Andy?
I think Hearts are in pole position.
Yeah.
It's Hearts to throw away. I think every game is difficult. I do think every club will drop points. If Celtic were to drop points tonight, I think that's their one and only time that they can afford it. And even then, it's no guarantee that it would come good. But I can't see Hearts, Rangers or Motherwell, never mind Celtic, I can't see them going through the last, 9 games, 10 for Celtic and Motherwell. I can't see them going through the 10 games and 9 games and not dropping points. I don't think any of them are good enough.
But your money's on Celtic, Mark?
No, my money's in Hearts.
Oh, is it? Sorry.
Yeah,
I heard
my money's on Hearts. I think right now, I think there's a lot of uncertainty over Celtic, and I think Rangers really, it might be irretrievable, the damage that they caused themselves on Sunday. I think Rangers get too cocky, thought the game was won at half time, wasn't impressed with Danny Roll's pre-match comments on Friday. I don't think he helped the club with that as well. So no, Hearts are absolutely in pole position. But my point would be, if Celtic win tonight and then beat Motherwell a week on Saturday, I would probably fancy Celtic's chances of hunting Hearts down. But it's a big ask to take 6 points out of 6 in the next 2 games. But right now, no, if you're offering me a free bet, I'd say Hearts, and I fancied them for a while. About 6 weeks ago, I picked out a 5-game run, Rob. Celtic, Rangers, Edinburgh Derby, St Mirren away, I think maybe Tannadice. And I thought if they come out of that 5-game spell still top of the table, a couple of points ahead, I would fancy them for the title. So they lost to St Mirren, they lost to Rangers, drew with Celtic, but they're still top of the table. So and they're going to get Lon Shankland and Cammy Devlin back in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So what a boost that'll give them getting into the last 6 or 7 games of the season.
And that tells you how important tonight's match is for Celtic at Pittodrie against Aberdeen. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff. Hopefully we can get the team news for you in about an hour's time. We're heading for the news at 6 and another hour of football chat on the way.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Watch live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 0808 1717 700. Talking Scottish football first.
Last night in the Scottish Premiership, Dundee United 2, St Mirren 1 on that pitch for sore eyes at Tannadice. 2-1, and St Mirren still in a bit of soapy bubble, you would say, at the bottom end of the Premiership. It's been a nightmare for them. It's been a glorious season, having won the League Cup, but they're still down in the lower reaches of the Premiership, still not yet clear of trouble. Tonight, Aberdeen Celtic is 8 o'clock at Pittodrie. Surely must win for Martin O'Neill and his team to try to keep tabs on Hearts at the top of the table. And then it's into Scottish Cup. Falkirk against Dundee United is Friday night. Can John McGinn continue this amazing season? Can Falkirk get themselves to a Hampden semi-final? Every chance, you would imagine, at the Falkirk Stadium Friday night. Saturday is Dunfermline against Aberdeen. That could have major difficulties written all over it for the Dons, who have to try and match up the Celtic firstly tonight, and then it's that game in the Cup at the weekend. Maybe their season will hinge on that match at East End Park on Saturday. Sunday is St Mirren against Partick Thistle, and the Old Firm go together for a second successive weekend, pitching for a place in the Scottish Cup semi-finals. What are we thinking about that one? Are you thinking about that one at all at this stage, Andy? The Old Firm quarter-final?
Oh, yeah, looking forward to the spectacle. I mean, to see the Broomloan Road stand full of Celtic supporters, that's what I remember as a fan, going along to some of those games, wonderful occasions, and of course playing for Celtic in front of the three stands that are full of Rangers fans. You've got your own behind the goal. It's a great shame they're never going to go back to it. They just can't stand the sight of one another.
Another draw at 90 minutes and extra time, Mark, in that one?
I wouldn't be surprised, Rob. The teams are very, very close together as we can see. I don't think I've ever seen a Rangers-Celtic game where one side's dominated the first half as Rangers did, got 2 goals up, could have been more, and then to come out and for Celtic to dominate the second half and could have won the game. It was an incredible change of fortune, but I think that just sums up both teams. You know, it's been a roller coaster season. They've both lacked proper consistency. They've both lacked, a real core. Your 6 or 7 players every Saturday that you're going to get an 8 out of 10. To help you go over the line. They've both lacked that, but they're still in it. Celtic need to go and win tonight. Rangers, I can't really see them recovering from the dropping too many points. Recently Hibs, Celtic, Livingston, etc. So right now, I can't see Rangers. They're not out of it, but I can't see them recovering.
Let's see what Rangers fan Paul thinks to that one. 0808 17 700 if you want to join the football conversation on the Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Paul, what do you think? Have Rangers spilled too many points already, or are they still very much in this?
Well, listen, after 2 helicopter Sundays in history that I remember with Rangers, I don't think you can count us out, but disappointing, but we've spilled points in positions we have been winning, Rob. I think Fir Park, Motherwell down to 10 men. We're 2-0 up against Celtic. Should have been 4-5-0 at half time. We were completely dominating them. And to throw that away, it's gutting. It's a bit like throwing points away, definitely. Do you know what I mean? But we're still in there, and Danny Rowe, to his credit, has done a great job getting us back to where we were from where Russell Martin left us. So you've got to give the guy credit for that. I heard Mark saying there he thought Rangers were cocky in the second tip. I'm not taking your words, Mark, and twist them or anything, but I think you said something like...
I think they looked at me, coming off at half time, I think they thought the job was done.
I think...
And you can't do that. You know that. Well, the evidence is there. You can't do that. But Rangers should know they've been in good positions in recent years, Paul, and don't get it over the line. 1 title in 13 years, or 1 title in 8 or 9 years since Rangers have been back in the top flight. So for me, what the Rangers...
I think...
What's that?
I think that's mentality.
Yeah, mentality as well. And like I said as well, I don't think Danny Rowe set the best example on his media conference on Friday getting into the game. For me, when you when you beat Celtic, if you beat them on the Sunday, have your wee go. When you come off the pitch at 90 minutes, have your wee go, whatever it is you want to say or do. You've earned the right over the 90 minutes in a tough fixture. But Rangers just too often, Paul, they seem to think the job's done before they've done it. And that's, they need to start. You talk about learning lessons, we learn from mistakes. Well, there's some people inside Rangers that clearly don't learn from their mistakes.
What do you think about that, Paul, when a manager like Danny Rule has a question about who Celtic are going to go play in goals? They've got a problem there. They've got a positional problem, a selection issue. He starts trying to get into Martin O'Neill's head. Is that what you felt he was doing? And is that a mistake?
Yeah, but see that, Rob, I'm not doing this to be petty or anything. I'm not. I'm absolutely not. But I remember Celtic managers like Brendan Rodgers commenting on who the next Rangers manager should be, that it should be Derek McInnes. That's no Celtic's business. That's Rangers' business, do you know what I mean? So if it doesn't happen with Rangers, it shouldn't happen with any other person, do you know what I mean? So, you know, you're not going to stop that. It's not as if Danny Rowe's the only person in the whole of Scottish football that's ever done that.
No.
There's been comments
But
from other people, do you know what I mean?
the thing
And
with
that's
it was,
factual,
Paul, though,
that's factual.
why...
Brendan Rodgers said that.
Yeah, but do you know what? Brendan Rodgers is doing that as a
right.
title. Yeah, but I'm not saying it's right. I agree with you. And he's probably trying to do Derek a tongues. I think he got a good relationship with Derek back then. But my point in that would be, not that I'm defending Brendan Rodgers on it, but where you could cut him slack is he's a title-winning manager. He's won titles, he's won things. The Danny Rowe's media stuff, Paul, up until Friday, I think was really, really good. He just kept it quiet, you know, never made any headlines, and just, you know, come up the rails. You know, Celtic were on turmoil under Nancy, and, you know, Hearts dropped a couple of points here and there. They had 2 or 3 draws in a row. Rangers got on about their business and they turned things around. That's why I was so surprised about Friday. And then he mentioned it again on Sunday, pre-match, doing his interview with Luke Shanley with Sky. Unprompted, he brought up the Celtic goalkeeping situation again. I'm thinking, why are you doing this? You've not won the game yet. You're not top of the league, 8-9 points clear with 5 games to go. I just found it strange. I don't know why he decided to go down that road on the build-up to a Celtic game for the first time this season. That's why I can't get my head round why he chose to do that.
Mark, I'm old school. I mean, see, growing up watching these games, I loved, like, say, Walter Smith and Dick Advoca, who would basically, Walter Smith in particular knew the score with Scottish football. He wouldn't make, basically, do your talk on the park.
Absolutely.
Know your man, who you're marking, and then do the talk and see all this. I hate players. I absolutely hated players. Lorenzo Amoroso was one of the worst there. I'm going back years. We'll do this, we'll do that. I hate that. I just think keep your cards close to your chest. And I agree with you. I think Danny Rowe's media performances have been great prior to that, and I would have liked him just to kind of keep their counsel in house, and ex players and that might come out and say things, but that's what happens. But
Mark Guidi, what's happened to you? I can't believe you're having a go at managers shooting their mouth off and creating headlines for us.
It's great. It's great for the business, but I'm talking about for Rangers.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
The timing was all off. And by the way, there's no doubt to get Martin O'Neill's back up. Absolutely get Martin O'Neill's back up, and that would have been in Martin O'Neill's mind at half time. You can see the handshake at the end of the game.
It was brief.
Very, very brief. So there's no doubt that Danny Rowe, I'm just very, very like you're mentioning Walter Smith there, Paul. Do you think Walter Smith would have said that about Celtic?
No chance.
Do you know what Walter Smith would have said? Walter Smith would have said he'd have buttered them up. What a fantastic result for Scottish football. A Scottish team going away from home to a Bundesliga team and winning. That's what Walter would have done.
Blown smoke.
Exactly.
Yep.
Lulling into a false sense of security. He wouldn't have get their back up. Yeah. You could see Martin O'Neill live on the television on Sky on Friday afternoon when he was asked. He didn't know about it. He was totally blindsided. He wasn't briefed about it. But you could oh really? That gets his back up. And again, I was surprised with Danny Rowe doing it, and it backfired.
I think the surprising thing about the team, Paul, in recent weeks, in recent games, been 1-0 up against Motherwell and drawn, 2 points dropped. The game at the weekend there against Celtic, 2-0 up and drawn 2-2, 2 points dropped. The other one at Livingston where you're 2 down. I don't know if you regard that as a point gained, but a club that's played 28, 29 games like Livingston, they've only won 1 all season, and they were on the verge of taking all 3, against Rangers. So those 3 games in the last small number of weeks, that's 6 points. And that is where you begin to question Danny Rowe about, seeing it through, getting the job done.
Do you know what I'm starting to think, Rob? This is a joke, right? But bear with me.
Thanks for warning us.
I wonder if Barry's got something to say in this, right? Because every time Barry says, I'm away to see Clermont, we're doing great things, then it's Danny Rowe, we're away doing great things, and him and Gordon Jury, I've seen them at the training. And every time we do that, it curses the luck. So, can I ask Barry, please stay away from the training ground, don't mention anything positive about us until the end of the season when we win something.
Yeah.
That's just a wee joke and gesture. I mean, I think, look, I was going to ask a question just about off topic for Rangers, see what you think. I've never really watched much of Motherwell, but for what I've seen of them, been outstanding. I mean, the style of play, I mean, 70% possession, I mean, that's unheard of for a team outside Rangers and Celtic. But whether, if Hearts were to win the league, and you think they're favourites, Mark, or if Motherwell did the unthinkable and continued and sneaked it or whatever, if one of the two won that and won the league, and I don't think they get into guaranteed Champions League, I think they have to play so many rounds and whatnot, but if they did, and they went through those rounds and got into Champions League, I was going to say win the Champions League, but get through to the group stages. Do you think that would be a game changer? Do you think, the only reason I'm thinking is Leicester won the Premiership down there, and I know I'm comparing apples with oranges here, but Leicester won the league down there and didn't really kick on from there. They never dominated for a long period of time, but do you think it would be different in Scottish football? Do you think if Hearts won it or Motherwell won it, that it would give them that financial backing, and it's helped Celtic? I know they're still funded by Dermot Desmond and everything else, but it's helped them financially to kind of move forward. Do you think that would happen with Hearts or Motherwell?
Possibly with Hearts. You could see Tony Bloom having a go if they keep Derek McInnes, because if Hearts win the league, Derek McInnes, would have admiring glances. Could well be his next Scotland manager if Steve Clarke decides to call it a day in the next 2 or 3 months after the World Cup. I think Derek would be the favourite, even if Hearts don't win the league for the Scotland job. But you could see Tony Bloom wanting to kick on. If they did get to the Champions League, you're right, financially it is an absolute game changer. For Motherwell, I still think Motherwell, they would sell. I think the players would want to go, and Motherwell would just take it as a fairy tale season, and financially it would set them up for the next decade or so. But for Hearts, that could be, if they win the league this season, it could be a real threat over the next 2 or 3 years to Celtic and Rangers.
Yeah, when I look at it, I think Hearts have got the capability of strengthening even further, being able to hold on to their players maybe a bit more. I mean, obviously all the players would be looking for a wee bit extra for doing something exceptional, but
it'd be a lovely story if it was Motherwell.
It'd be a lovely story, Rob, for Motherwell, but it's going to be so difficult for whoever wins the title to qualify for the Champions League. It's getting tougher every season.
Are you still in the bonus for your old Motherwell contract?
Oh dear. I think it was about 30 quid a point, something like that.
Paul, Youssef Chermiti, how more convinced are you in the last few weeks, and especially on the back of the weekend, that he is the real deal? He's going to be something special.
Well, I feel it's quite ironic, because I thought you had someone like Dessers last year who could do it against the smaller teams, but when he came up against Celtic or Heart or bigger teams, he couldn't do it, unless it was Man United, obviously. But this guy seems to be, he can do it against Hearts. He's done it against Celtic. I mean, that's 4 goals against Celtic, I think, in the last 2 games. He's a big game player, but he's still a young guy developing. But he's got to do it in the key moments of games. Now, I go back to one that stands out. Who was it now?
Motherwell at Fir Park.
Motherwell, I think.
Yeah.
Motherwell at Fir Park.
Chance to make it 2-0.
Aye, it's the same with Dessers with Ross County the day we lost the league, I think, at that time when he was through before half time. So you're right, Mark, it was that chance. And they're the key moments. I think I listen to you guys in the media and I listen to Paper Talk and all that, and you talk about key defining moments in seasons. You go back to seasons and you think that's the moment that won the league, whether it was Neil Lennon's famous one with the 3-0 down at Kilmarnock and came back to 3-8, or whether it was, Rangers have had key moments. I remember Hearts, and not going through like a kind of fairy tale stories here, but Naismith and Boyd scored at Tynecastle and won us that game against. There's key moments in seasons, and I think you look back on that and you think, do you know what? I could have had this at 3 points. And I'm even going back and thinking that 2 points there or that 1 point there, and he needs to kind of be consistent, Rob. That's what I'm trying to get to my point. Is he can score against Celtic, and he gets the glory, and that goal he scored the bicycle kick. I mean, McTominay-esque. It took me back to that moment. I mean, I don't know whether you think that is the greatest goal in the Old Firm, but it's definitely up there. I've seen Celtic fans coming back and saying that was Paul Lambert's goal, the top post at Stamford. I remember that goal, great one. But
I scored one at Ibrox in the same end. It just come off my shoulder bone. It's a right good one.
I forgot that one, Andy.
Bit special.
Did it go in the top corner though?
Top corner, it did, actually. Off the
Well, there you
shoulder,
go.
into the
So-
top corner. Can't he beat it?
What do you think of Ryan Nadiri? I mean, £4.5 million. I don't know. I was disappointed against Celtic. I mean, this guy's apparently get the ball in the six in the box. He'll bury them, but I didn't really see much of that, to be honest with Nadiri. So I don't know.
I think even just the way they shape up, I think Chermiti's enjoying having someone so close to him, a partnership, if you like, which, normally it's a lone striker and you've got two wide, one on the left, one on the right. But
Is he the guy that's creating the space effectively
I
for
think
Chermiti?
so.
Yeah.
And I think Chermiti is appreciating just having someone so close. You need to be aware of their threat, both of them. But I agree with Paul. I think Chermiti has shown that he's capable of something really special, but he does need to kick on, and by kicking on it means just being more consistent. Getting the winner getting that second goal against Motherwell, getting a goal against Livingston, that instead of dropping points, you've got all three.
So is the jury still out for you, Andy, on Chermiti?
No, I think he's. I did question his ability. I can now see. I mean, at 21, Paul also mentioned that he's still got so much more room for development. I think he can go on and be an even better player. His game outside the box can be a lot better, but he's got all the qualities you want. He's got a tremendous height, size, physique, touch. I mean, his agility, his athleticism for that goal.
I thought you were talking about yourself there for a second.
No. I mean, the height that he got up to make such a clean connection. He's got a hell of a lot to offer, and this is the guy that Everton were taking a chance on at 14, 15 million.
Yeah.
And obviously it didn't work out for him there, but
You begin to see what they were thinking about,
Yeah,
and you
I think
begin
so.
to see as well maybe that there's a decent profit potential for Rangers down the line as well.
yeah, I mean, I read recently that there were some extraordinary offer made for him and Rangers knocked it back. I was surprised at that, but I think this is a guy who could really light up Scottish football if he got his act together. And you saw the level of performance in games like that against Celtic. If he could do it on a regular basis, just scoring goals and making the difference, that can be as exciting as the overhead kick that got everyone on the edge of their seat.
And that's what winning the title's all about as well, isn't it? In this, especially in this season of seasons, beating Celtic isn't enough, and you have to do it against everybody else and grind out the results and pick up the points.
Yeah, they do, and on Chermiti, I mean, Andrew Kavanagh, I think he's told a number of people that they could have had pretty much about £12 million for Chermiti in the window. That would represent a 50% profit on him, but Danny Rule won't, because he saw the Nadiri thing. They chased Nadiri down to get him on the last day. So when you look at the Rangers hierarchy, they've really stood by Danny Rule. They've really supported him, not only with the players that they got in, but the players that they resisted cashing in on. So you wonder what the ownership's view will be if Rangers don't win the title, Paul, don't you think? Because they didn't hang about with Russell Martin, they didn't hang about with Kevin Thelwell, and it'll be interesting what their viewpoint is when if it doesn't get over the line.
Mark, I've said this show, and you can go back to it when I said it was the same with Philippe Clement. There's acid tests, if you want to call it that, for me as a Rangers manager, and there's been that many false dawns where it's been Warburton, Clement, I could go through the whole list, but my acid tests were things like games away to Hearts at Tynecastle. He didn't tick that off. Then there was a game that on Sunday there in front of a full house, didn't tick it off. Whereas a Walter Smith, a Dick Advoca, an Alec McLeish, whatever, could have ticked that off. And that was always my worry, that when the key games come, he just can't get them over the line. And it was the same with Philippe Clement, Mark.
Well, the belief, Paul, came when Rangers won at Parkhead, and I know you might say it was against.
Game, I was going to come to that, Andy. I was going to come to that game. That was luck, because Celtic hammered us, right? And that was under Wilfred Nansen. You only have to look at his style of football, right? And that's just ask the Celtic fans, right? Or you guys, because you've seen it, right? That was luck, because they hammered us the first half, and there was I know every game's got an element of luck, but if that was how bad Celtic, I'll go back to my point, Mark remembers, because I only phoned in maybe Monday. This is the worst Celtic team I've seen. There's no investment, whether that's the board wanting out or whatever you want to call it, I don't know, right? There's no investment, and yet we've got the 49ers backing us. We've got Andrew Kavanagh putting his money where his mouth is. The board are going above and beyond, and I know he's had to pick up halfway through a season or 3/4 of the way through, whatever you want to call it, and he's had a sticky start with Russell Martin, but he's had the backing of the board, and you've just talked to it. We're throwing away points against Livingston. We're throwing points away against Motherwell. We can't beat Celtic in our own backyard with all our fans there. With Scuff Olsen, who people bang on about, with the backing that the board have put in, and he still can't get over the line. So, not regardless of the game against Parkhead, it was great, and we beat Celtic, but he can't get us through. If he doesn't win this league, his job should be on the line. And I say that, I'm not saying sack the guy now, I'm not nuts like that, right? Give the guy time, but it worries me for some of the things he's done, because Mark mentioned it there, and he's talked about his game management. It isn't great all the time. I mean, I was going off the head at the Motherwell game that down to 10 men, a Walter Smith would have killed that game off there and then. He plays defensively and says, "Oh no, I'll go with that." When you can see Motherwell peppering, they've nothing to lose. They're going to throw the ball in the box, and it takes one mistake. And guys like Butland and all that, they need as much help as they can get, because they went through the Russell Martin era and whatnot and didn't see it working. Do you know a guy I would have brought on against Celtic? And I've criticised him in this show, so I put my hands up. I would have brought James Tavernier on, because he's experienced. He would have maybe have calmed the whole situation down. He's a Rangers captain ultimately, and he could have made a difference. But no, he brings on Diomande. I was going off ahead at the game, and you can hear me getting passionate about it. But I said at half time to my pal, do not take the foot off the gas. We've got Celtic planted in. Don't take the foot off the gas. But what does he do? Plays 5 more minutes. We're dominating Celtic, and then goes, no, they've changed their shape. I'm going to bring Diomande on, and killed it.
Paul,
I got annoyed with him.
We're heading for a commercial break, but before you go, are you backing Aberdeen to do some damage against Celtic tonight, or does it not matter when you're chasing Hearts?
Absolutely, Rob. I'm putting 5-0 on Aberdeen tonight.
What about the second half, Paul?
Well, even a draw, I would take a draw.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's good for Scottish football, isn't it? It's got us talking and passionate, and it swings and roundabouts, because 1 minute you think Rangers are going to dominate the league, and then you think Celtic and all that. But listen, I appreciate you letting me on the show tonight.
Not at all. Thanks for calling.
Thanks, Paul.
Good to have you on as ever, Paul.
Thanks a lot.
0808 17 17 700.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
It's Rob MacLean, Andy Walker and Mark Guidi with you for another good half hour, and hopefully in the next 30 minutes we will bring you the lineups from Pittodrie, which is an 8 o'clock kickoff. Aberdeen against Celtic. Martin O'Neill's team on that tightrope. They can't really afford to be spilling any more points on the back of the draw in the derby at the weekend, and of course losing at home to Hibs. Let's talk to Celtic fan Kevin. Hi, Kev.
How you doing, boys? You alright?
Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
All well. How are you?
I know, bad. Feeling a wee bit more encouraged after the weekend. Didn't look at half time. It was a nightmare. I actually switched the telly off. I'm like, oh no, we've got to get done here. And then so when I switched the telly back on, it was 2-1, and then we managed to. I got probably unlucky not to win the game, to be honest.
Yeah.
So feeling a wee bit better, but listen, Martin O'Neill, as experienced as he is, I don't know if Andy can explain, because Andy, you've obviously played at the top professionally, but I just don't know how Celtic are so inconsistent in game. It's not just inconsistent as in results, because the results have been fairly consistent, to be honest with you. It's the performance inconsistency that's a concern, which makes me think that we can't win this league. Yeah, I just don't see how we can win a league by turning up to games and playing 45 minutes. I just don't know how that's going to happen. We need to try and get 80 or 90 minutes out of this team to try and win a league. You can't just expect to turn it on for 45 minutes and win games. And the night is a must-win. This is an Aberdeen team in dire straits. I can't remember the exact figure, but I'm pretty sure I heard on a podcast that Aberdeen have took something crazy, like 4 points in the last 25 or something crazy
Well,
like that.
they've won only one of their last 12 league games. So, I mean, it's serious relegation form, Kevin.
Aye, so they're in dire straits. So this is a team we should be blown away. And not only winning, Andy and Mark, there should be an opportunity for us to go and take 3 or 4 or 5 goals after this club.
Who do you
Because
love
goal
seeing
difference
in
is good.
the? Who do you love seeing in the Celtic starting 11, Kevin?
Who do I love seeing in the Celtic starting 11?
Who do you really hang your hat on?
When he turns it on, Tenenke, I love seeing him, but he's a wee bit inconsistent. I think for me, the person that I love seeing in the team is the captain. Now, I know he's not had his best season, but with Callum McGregor on that side, we collapsed to nothing as far as I'm concerned. But I know the point you're trying to get at here. But in fact, there's one other player, Andy, that I love to see apologise. Arajo. I would hang my hat on him every day of the week. But that's a right back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I should be able to write him off.
Kevin, honestly, I'm speaking to Celtic supporters every day, and they say the same thing that you've just said: the inconsistency, the lack of, guys you can look at and think he'll be good for us tonight. He'll be good for us at the weekend.
You played at the time. Where does that come from? How is that possible?
Well, the one thing to admire about this Celtic team is they're still in it. So I think with no one really expected the Brendan Rodgers exit, the manner of it. But when Brendan Rodgers came in, he settled it down. Then they made the change and it went spectacularly wrong. But at this stage of the season, Kevin, Celtic have got 10 games left and they've got a chance. So all those points that they dropped in that Wilfred Nancy experiment, it would be truly remarkable if Martin O'Neill was able to guide this team that no one seems to think has got any. You don't look to a centre forward, a midfield player, a captain in defence that will give you everything. Look at Kasper Schmeichel. I mean, he might not play tonight. He's had so many mistakes. Everyone talks every year about the spine of the team, and Celtic's has been so strong. Not so much this season, but the only thing I would say is, and I think it is part of the general mentality, Celtic are in with a chance. And I can't believe I'm speaking to some Celtic supporters saying, in fact, did we not have one earlier tonight? It's the worst Celtic team I've seen in, I don't know.
Paul, the Rangers fan, said that worst Celtic team that he can remember.
Team that you can remember. I think there are some Celtic fans saying that's the worst Celtic team that I can remember in, I don't know, 10, 20 years.
And they're still in title contention.
I would say it's definitely the worst Celtic team of this century. You might go back to like Lou Macari's time, maybe. You look at the quality or the lack of quality. But I would certainly say if you look at since Martin O'Neill came in 2000, Martin O'Neill's 5 years, Gordon Strachan's 4 years, the Tony Mowbray season was an unmitigated disaster. And then you kick on into Neil Lennon's teams and then Brendan, etc. There's probably a case to say that I think there's some really good players in the Celtic squad, but there's just not enough for whatever reason that you can hang your hat on. I mean, they've pretty much performed. They are where they are without having a goalkeeper that was making top saves. And I think that's been a real bonus now that I think Martin O'Neill, there's no more decisions to be made, potential headaches. Sienna Sal's are number one for the rest of the season. You've not had a really right good centre half. Trusty's made mistakes. Carter Vickers been injured. McGregor's been at a good level, a level of consistency. But apart from that, he's had nobody beside him at the heart of the team who's played consistently well. And the best number 9 at the club is Iheanacho, who's only been available for 5 or 6 games this season. Your wingers, Maeda's had a really, really poor season. Tenetke's been fine. But remember, he arrived in August. And he's had 5 or 6 good games. The other guy who lights it up for me, and you mentioned him earlier, Andy, and even if it's only for 10 or 15 minutes, James Forrest lights up the Celtic team when he comes on.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary that you're saying Iheanacho is the best striker at the club, and he wasn't even signed. He was on the free transfer list after the window was closed.
That was a panic stations.
These Celtic fans that you speak to all the time, why did the club not buy a recognised striker. I mean, just why?
For a year, they've been looking.
But Andy,
Two windows.
you're asking the question, that very valid question about who do you get excited about in the Celtic team? Who do you look forward to watching? Who's going to be the guy that's going to go and win you that game? Now, last season, could you have contemplated asking that question and Dyson Maeda not coming out of thousands of sets of lips? And yet, at the moment, you know, does he play tonight? Is he dropped tonight?
He's got to play because
is he doing enough?
I think he did enough at the weekend to suggest he's still got a little bit to offer. I think he was really hurt by the way he was treated. He thought he was out. He thought he was on his way, and that's everything to do with his family. And I think he has lost his focus. He can still give you moments, and that's what you're hoping and praying for. And it shouldn't be enough.
When did he last score? I know his header was handled on the line at the weekend.
Yeah.
When did he last score?
Yeah.
About 3 months ago.
Too long and not enough.
Yeah, 11 games without a goal.
And then you sign someone like Chivanchara. He comes in again at Tynecastle. I thought he looked decent. I thought he looked as though he might be able to give something. He hasn't played, and you're looking for this chemistry and at the back and midfield, up front. You're looking for this chemistry with every passing game. It's amazing that Celtic are still hanging on in there, despite the astonishing mismanagement off the field.
Mm. And you've got somebody like.
Sorry,
Kev.
Do you want to know who it's going to be hard to take if we win this title? No, I agree. This is the worst Celtic team I can remember since. I'm 43. So I can barely remember the Lou McCarry sides. I've actually found a picture up in the loft of the 1994 side. Andy, I'm not sure if you're in that picture actually. And I can only name Peter Grant. I can't name any other player. Totally unmemorable side.
Well, let me clarify. We finished 4th that season.
There you go.
So
right.
that was a poor side. That was a poor side, Kevin.
Imagine your Hearts, right? They deserve all the credit in the world. Although I have said they couldn't have had a better season. They've come up against a horrific Celtic Rangers side. However, they've took care of their own business. They've won all their games. So imagine how they would feel if they're the best season in probably their history, and Celtic still win the title, or Rangers win the title, despite Celtic and Rangers having that horrific start. Celtic basically thrown it away in December, and still win the league. I think it's unthinkable. We win the league. I honestly couldn't believe it. If we won the league, I'd be sitting at the end of the season going, how did that happen? That's how bad we are. But
Kevin, how many more mishaps are Celtic away from being out completely of title contention, do you think?
I would say, I know people are saying you need to win every game. It's not going to happen. Hearts, Rangers, Celtic boys play each other, all right? So somebody's got to drop points.
Yeah.
I would say we can afford to. Well, it's not a million miles away, but I would say we need to take 27 out of 30.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I agree, Kevin.
That might not be enough.
Yeah, you might get away with a couple of draws out of 10 games, which would mean Celtic can get 81 points, which means Hearts would need to lose 3 games out of 9. You're right. So, you know, as I say, the absolute maximum will be 84. If anybody gets to 84, guaranteed they'll win the title. You might win it with 80. So Celtic might be allowed a couple of drops, but they'd obviously have to beat Hearts after the split. That's a gimme. They must beat Hearts after the split. But if Hearts get to the split and they've still got a 4-5 point lead, Derek McInnes will be absolutely thrilled with that.
I agree.
And tonight, Kev, you're looking for Celtic to pick up on their second half performance from the weekend and get the job done quickly at Pittodrie.
Absolutely. Listen, nobody's really talked. Well, I listen to the show every day. Obviously, I'm a regular caller, but I don't know if anybody's brought this up. Goal difference could very well. You could get to a scenario. I don't know if any boffins have worked this out, but you could get to the scenario where you're sitting in the last game of the season and 3 teams could win the title. So, and it could go to any goal difference.
You're right.
You need to pick up the goals.
Yep.
And this is the perfect opportunity. No disrespect to Aberdeen, and I know Celtic are the fire and the goals left, right, and centre. But when you're facing a team that's took 4 points out of the last 25-30, you should be getting up there and looking to absolutely hammer them and get the goal difference up, because that could be absolutely crucial.
And who's got the best goal difference at the moment in the Premiership? It's Motherwell.
Motherwell?
Yeah.
Motherwell?
Yeah.
Motherwell, credit to that. That's another big mistake. Biggest mistake of the January window is the incompetent Celtic board not saying to Motherwell, this 5.5 million gives Man Marisi, because they would have put your hand up for it. That 5.5, 6 million would have gone to Man Marisi, and Motherwell would have took it, because that would have set them up for the next 7 to 8 years. Easy.
Yeah.
By the way, Kevin, I think you could have got him for less, because remember, Celtic were holding Stephen Welsh, who's an integral part of the Motherwell setup, and Celtic took him back. You know, and I agree with you. Martin O'Neill fancied Mashwanisi. He fancied him. And yeah, that could be something, just because of his pace, you know, his eye for goal, but he's got that electric pace. He knows the Scottish scene. He's scoring goals for fun. There's no settling in period. There's no language barrier.
And he's 23, a good age.
You know, and when you think that not a penny, I don't know what the loan fees are. Obviously, there'll be loan fees, but to think that, you know, if you to go and have said to Motherwell 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, there's 4.5, the money that they got for Lennon Miller, there's 4.5, and you can have Stephen Welsh back in loan. That was a deal to be done.
Kevin, scoreline tonight, what do you reckon?
3-0 Celtic.
Thanks for your call.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
8 o'clock at Pittodrie. It's Aberdeen against Celtic, and these are your teams. And it's a Celtic team showing 4 changes from the one that started at Ibrox at the weekend. All all the same in defence and goalkeeper. So Sinisalo in goals, Araujo, Murray, Scales and Tierney across the back, Callum McGregor in the midfield. Then is where all the changes come in. Rio Hatatei starts, Luke McCowan as well. Yang keeps his place. The 2 other changes see Tunekti starting, and Thomas Chvanchara is leading the attack for Celtic. On the bench for them, Ross Doohan, top scorer Benjamin Negron, Adamu, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Srirachi, Maeda, Arthur, Forrest and Donovan. So 4 changes in the Celtic team, and I think it's 3 changes for Aberdeen. Mitov in goals, Jensen comes in for the injured Nicky Devlin, Jensen, Milne. In fact, make that 4 changes, because Sivert Nielsen is in the back 4 alongside Milne, and Gavin Malloy at left back. So 2 changes in the defence. Mitchell Frame, ex of Celtic, comes into the team. Stuart Armstrong, another former Celtic player, is in as well. Geiger, Cameron, Olusanya, and Kevin Nisbet, who's looking to keep up a record of 5 goals at Pittodrie in his last 3 games on his home patch. So he is in, at least for Aberdeen, a decent bit of form. But as a collective, results have been absolutely horrendous for them. Andy, your reaction to that Celtic lineup?
Yeah, just immediately drawn to the changes. I mean, the big surprise for me is Negron, who's always liable for a goal without being utterly outstanding. He's always got an eye for goal. But so him being out the side, no surprise Oxlade-Chamberlain is out. Another interesting one is the main striker, Chvanchara. As I said earlier, I thought he looked decent against Hearts at Tynecastle when he made his debut. But since then, he's struggled to make an impact. In and out of the team, more out than in all honesty. No surprise that Hatatei and Tunetke have come back in. And they're the ones who can give you a bit of imagination, give you something a bit different. And they're the ones that you're looking to try and control the game and ensure that Celtic can get a big 3 points.
The Aberdeen team, it's like a revolving door of team changes week in, week out, through injuries, suspensions. They've had so many red cards, of course. And what do you make of their lineup? I mean, that's Sivert Nielsen, who's a midfielder playing in the back 4. He's done it 2 or 3 times this season alongside Jack Milne. Alexander Jensen is the change. Stuart Armstrong comes back into the starting lineup. That could be a plus. Mitchell Frame, who actually has looked good any time he's played for Aberdeen today. And the rest is pretty much the same. Geiger, Cameron, Olusanya and Nisbet. What do you make of that Aberdeen lineup?
I mean, Nisbet always gives you a goal threat. Rob, but I just think, at the back, you're always looking for your goalie. I just think I like Mitov, but he's not hit the heights this season. He's lacked consistency. I think it's symptomatic of Aberdeen, because that's where they are. That's where they are now because of that. But looking at that Celtic team, I'd imagine that Martin O'Neill and his staff have assessed it and thought, we just need to roll the sleeves up tonight. I'm not quite sure, Rob, you'd know about me how. I don't think the Pittodrie surface is, bowling green style, so therefore it's a roll your sleeves up job. You look at that middle of the park, McCowan can dig, Hatatei can dig, McGregor can dig. They've also got quality, but they can dig. So he's probably looking at that. Peter leaving, it's not going great for him as caretaker manager, but I do remember Scottish Cup semi-final, 18 months ago, he took Celtic to penalty kicks. He knew his stuff. He'd love to get a result tonight against Celtic, potentially. The new Aberdeen manager is sitting in the stand, Sandro Schwarz. So the players will think, okay, we want to go and catch that here. There's a couple of wee things in that Aberdeen team that make you think, right, they're going to have to raise their game. They can't be as bad as they've been. And I think that's what Martin O'Neill's thinking, looking at his team select. They've still got a really strong bench. They can bring on Nygren, Maeda, Forrest. But I just think Martin O'Neill, first and foremost, let's win the battle, win the middle of the park, and take it for there.
Andy, I'm just taking a seat back from that Celtic team selection, and you've flagged that up very quickly. I'm thinking this is must win for Celtic to have any serious intentions of winning the title. They have to win tonight. You would have thought, yes, there'll be time to recover potentially.
Yep.
But it's not a great sign if they spill more points tonight. You leave your top goal scorer, 18-goal Benjamin Nygren, on the bench. I know that the Celtic fans would say, apart from his goal scoring, he doesn't do an awful lot. But can you afford to leave your go-to goal scorer on the bench?
Well, time will tell, because these questions will be more seriously asked if it goes wrong for Celtic. If McCowan comes in tonight and gives you the type of performance he gave in Europe against Stuttgart, where he scores a lovely goal, forget about it's after 20, 30 seconds. The quality of the finish, the timing of the run, him actually being there to try and finish a through ball.
But that was supposed to be his second goal of the season.
Exactly that. So is he going to be in a goal-scoring position tonight? He's not someone that you regard as a goal-scoring threat from the middle of the park. But he got a really good goal last week against fine opposition. Callum McGregor's always going to be there. You would expect Hatatei to come in. But is he going to give you the type of performance that he gave for 45 minutes? You really can't put your hat on him either.
No.
He was excellent when he came on at the weekend. But for weeks before that, you think, where is the Rio Hatatei?
And he probably epitomises the inconsistency of the Celtic team.
Yeah,
and we know what he's capable of when he's at his top level,
and
like second half at Ibrox.
And he's got someone else to build a relationship and an understanding with, and a main striker who's got different qualities, Shimanchara. So team selection, always really interesting. And it might be the wrong team if you're making changes at half-time and someone coming on might just be able to do the business.
Yeah, but I think as well, though, the other way for me to look at, you flip it. So we know Nygren's got 18 goals. Is he an outstanding player? Is he an 8 out of 10 every week?
No.
He's not, right? So anybody else that's been left out, you can say it's much a muchness. But you look at 4 out of the 6, the 3 midfielders and the front 3. 4 out of the 6 have got maximum 45 minutes under their belt in the last week or so. So they're fresher. So you look at Nygren, put a shift in Stuttgart, put a shift at Ibrox. You bring in McCowan, who's got a goal, who came off the bench on Sunday. Hatatei, off the bench on Sunday. Tanetke, off the bench on Sunday. Chavanchara didn't get off the bench on Sunday. So your only consistency is McGregor. So again, I think the mentality of the Celtic management is this is a battle first and foremost. It's a midweek game at Pittodrie, under the lights, no taking anything for granted. Aberdeen's new manager maybe sitting in the stand. The players will get a wee lift from that. So therefore I think they're thinking this is roll your sleeves up, this is energy. And if we're not ahead with 30 minutes to go, Aberdeen tire and you bring on Nygren, you bring on that's what I think the thinking behind it is.
Andy, you'll have had Nygren type players in teams you've played for, I would imagine, guys who you look at and you question what they're delivering over a match, but they've got that happy knack of being right placed
Listen,
to score a goal.
Granny played about 400 games for Celtic. I mean, how is that possible? But yes, I know what you mean, and I just think with everything at stake, so Celtic have got a bit of a lift, although they drew the game at the weekend because they finished the stronger of the two. They're looking at it as a point gained, difficult away fixture. Let's try and build on that. Another away game after your European travels as well. So it's been really tough on the players, and you're having to maximise what you've got in the squad. And no one is thinking that Shivanchara is going to, light it up between now and the end of the season. But you want him to contribute. Do what he did at Tynecastle. Absolute nuisance. Led the line well. I thought his touch control, bringing others into play, I thought it was decent. He did really well for one of the goals. So if he can start scoring goals, he might be one that if he gets a goal tonight, he might start the game in the weekend against Rangers in the quarterfinals of the Scottish Cup.
And as you said, Mark, it's possibly attitude over everything else tonight on a pitch that's seen so many games called off, a bit like Tannadice. Pittodrie has struggled, so it isn't in great condition. And it's maybe tonight about getting your hands dirty and earning the right to play in the game and win the game. And maybe that's a big influence on that team selection.
Yeah, I think so, Rob. That's the only thing I can come up with when we look at it. Because again, as I've spoken about all night tonight, Celtic haven't had outstanding players. So he absolutely, apart from the captain and one or two, and it's Tierney, I think, has been really, really good. He must start. Oh my God, Nigan's not, I can't believe there'll be people saying, okay, Nigan's not starting. Well, I can see why. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got 18 goals, he's a goal threat, but he's not brilliant. He's been a really efficient performer, but he's not outstanding. It would be like last season, he would never have left Maeda out the team because he was brilliant last season. But this season, the other thing as well, as Andy highlighted, Celtic will have a lift obviously going into tonight on the back of their second half performance. And I think as well, see that wee bust up at full time? I don't know who was at fault. I don't know who was involved particularly. But that wee bust up at full time, I've not done them any harm as well in terms of, come on, let's get going.
Andy, how's this going to go tonight?
I think Celtic will win. I think they'll win by a couple of goals. I've been to a few Aberdeen games this season, and I totally get it. They will try and raise their game when, the champions are in town. But Rangers have beaten them twice in the last couple of months, I think. 2-0 each time. And I fancy Celtic for the same score tonight, 2-0.
Mark?
I agree with Andy, 2-0 Celtic. Second half goals.
Agreement in the studio is never going to catch on. Thanks a lot to Andy. Thanks to Mark
Rob.
as well.
Cheers, Rob.
And thanks to you for listening. Back tomorrow at 5.